From Julio Cruz and Gaylord Perry to Alvin Davis and Harold Reynolds to father and son back to back bombs. From Junior J, Joey, and Edgar with Randy, A-Rod, Dan, and the Sheriff to Ichiro Moyer and Mikey C to King Felix, Kyle Cruz, and Cano to the present with Julio, Gilbert, Kirby, and Cal. I don't believe it. It just continues. My, oh my. It's another sports podcast. My, oh my. It's another sports podcast. Got to give a huge shout out to super producer Indy out there in Nashville, Tennessee. That's Vaden Podcast Services. Vaden Podcast Services. They bring the show to life. Got to give a huge shout out, like always, to all the homies in the live chat, dropping knowledge, telling jokes. Thank you so much. And then, of course, my man is cooler than the other side of the pillow. My, oh my, we have the Mexico Bowl, February basketball, spring training baseball, but I know my man's still hyped from a couple weeks ago in the Super Bowl. RG, what's going on, bro?
Excuse me if my wealth got me full of myself. Cocky's something that I just can't help, especially when the 20s are spinning like windmills and the ice 32 below minus the wind chill. Filthy's the word that best defines me. I'm just grinding, man. Y'all never mind me. It's time to go to work.
Dude, that was smooth. Oh my lord. Oh my lord. Well, talk to me, bro. We're not quite ready to dive into baseball, but my favorite team won the Super Bowl one time. You're going to be able to bask in that glory the rest of your life, and you have the right to talk that shit for the next calendar year, and you can always hold the championship to your heart. How's it going, Mr. Philly fan?
Jeez, man, we still rolling. We still rolling. For those of you who don't know, Cooper the Gene is not a safety. He's just a corner who lock up your number one. Some of the hardest shit in the world, dog. Nah, I'm just playing with you, man. Hey, Tyson Baxter, welcome back. Hey, man, happy to be back. Had a long work week last week. But shit, man, we in here just rolling, man. That downtime of year where football is now becoming a distant ex-girlfriend who won't come around until the summertime vibes begin. It's just a little too early for me to let the Mariners depress me all day. But we had some pretty good hockey go on if you was a fan of that. The Four Nations tournament was off the chain. Canada once again broke and stole our hearts. But don't worry, the Washington Capitals single-handedly got some lick back for us over the last 2 days, if that's your kind of thing. But we do got some stuff to talk about, man. So we're gonna try to have fun over this hour while we with you on the airwaves.
Well, dude, let's just take a complete swing into right field here, really quick. We almost never talk about hockey. I'll be the first to say, bro, I'm a big time bandwagoner. If the Kraken are having a good season, I'm watching. If they're not, I'm not going to tune in until we get some game sevens. I don't know. I know nothing about hockey, but game sevens are obviously off the chain in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But, bro, does the NBA need to learn something? Because their All Star game and All Star weekend was pathetic. I watched maybe 3 minutes of it, but you were just talking about this little international series, and it got everybody watching. We got fights at the very beginning of tip off, man. I just talk to me about this shit because people like me who know nothing about hockey want to tune in, and the other sports need to take note.
Well, they have what they call a best on best tournament, where normally when you have a team representing a nation, you got guys from leagues within that nation also take a part of it, but that's not what this was. This was all NHL players on all NHL players. You chose your side of the fence based upon where you were from, and man, it was some great, entertaining TV over the course of that. And like you're saying, man, the U.S. Canadian U.S. Canada rivalry in hockey is almost unmatched, but it also is extremely one sided if we're telling the truth too. So to try to jolt some energy into it, Matthew Kachuk, St. Louis's own, and his brother Brady, and a couple guys just got together. They were like, "Look, man, we're going into a hostile environment. The best way to shut them up is as soon as they drop the puck, drop your gloves, find somebody, and let's go at it." and it offered an interesting dynamic too because of what the climate is that's going on things that we choose not to talk about on this format. The Canadians aren't really happy with us right now. So as soon as the Star Spangled Banner started playing, they booed him out the building. They booed him out the building, and it. I love the heel. I grew up a wrestling fan, man. I love heat. I love heels. I love all that shit talking. But yeah, man, it just set the tone for it, and the Americans got the victory. We swing back. We end up matching up with Canada in the championship game, and back and forth. They take the lead. We go up two. They score. We go into overtime, and overtime's not done how it is traditionally in the NHL regular season, where it's a 3-on-3. Then they try to get to the shootout. They let them rock it just like it was the Stanley Cup playoffs, man. Full squad on full squad, and Connor McDavid, man, just boy. Well, before we get to Connor McDavid, got to show some love to Jordan Bennington, man, from the St. Louis Capitals. I mean, from the St. Louis Blues, who was the starting goalie for the Canada team. Probably the best American player, Austin Matthews, had 3 point blank shots at the goal, and Jordan Bennington denies him. And then Canada goes down to the opposite end of the ice, does some gets the puck moving. We follow the puck, leave probably the best player in the world just wide open in front of the net, man. It was elementary from there. But if you look, I can't sit here and tell you that I'm a lifelong hockey fan. And I got to give a shout out to my brother Mark. We became hockey fans. Well, I became a hockey fan because he was just talking shit about this dude, Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby, Sidney Crosby, Sidney Crosby. So Washington drafts Ovechkin. And I'm like, I'm going with the toothless Russian. Fuck your pretty boy. So, of course, a couple years later, Sidney Crosby gets his first one. We get into the mid part of the 20 teens. Washington and Pittsburgh go head up for the right to get to the Stanley Cup championship twice. And twice they beat us in game sevens to get through and go to the cup. We play them one more time the very next year, and it ends up with Washington going through to, and as a matter of fact, this was a semifinal matchup. So this wasn't even for the EFC. We had to fight through them to get to the EFC. Ended up beating Tampa and going on and beating the Vegas Knights 4-1. So me and him have had this conversation going on for years about who's the best. And now Ovechkin is 13 goals away from breaking the all-time record. So of course I'm gonna ride with my guy, and I'm like, Ovechkin's the GOAT, man. Ovechkin's the GOAT. But hockey's a great sport, man. Hockey's a great sport, and I will admit that I let some naive, immature opinions keep me from following hockey when I first was introduced to it. But now, man, I'm telling you, if you're upset at the way that the NBA game is played, throw on a hockey matchup. Brighten up your day. Them dudes out there moving 50, 60 miles an hour out there on that ice. I know if I went ice skating, my black ass is holding the rail the whole time, trying not to bust my ass in public. And then watching these dudes out here just move around, and the way that they sacrifice themselves to help the goalie out and dive in front of that rubber piece of rock that's coming through hundreds of miles an hour. There's a reason why they ain't got no teeth, because that puck is unforgiving when it gets to bouncing around. But it's really a beautiful game, man. It really is a beautiful game. Get a chance to watch it, man. I know it's hard to kind of get involved with some of the rivalries that you may be used to, but hey, man, it's a great way to start, man. And if you are tired of the NBA product, hockey gives you action every night. Plus, if you're a degenerate, they let them fight. They
Let's
let
go.
them fight. They let them fight. I know you. Everybody loved Happy Gilmore when they was a kid. So imagine 9 Happy Gilmores on each team now out there just trying to whoop a motherfucker ass. I got one of the tough guys on my team. Name is Tom Wilson. That dude will fight Jesus if he had to. So I love it. I love it. Americans hate Trudeau would not let boo their anthem. Man, we got it. We got a good conversation going on in the chat. Let's give some love to Tyson Baxter and Tommy rocking with us tonight. Um, Tyson threw it back to some of my wrestling love, talking about Mr. McMahon documentary on Netflix. We'll get into that in a little bit. Hockey is probably the sport I know best because of the foreign nations. It's the sport I know least about because of the foreign nations. It's the one sport I'm the most interested in. Man, it's like that, dude. It's absolutely like that. It's not old school hockey where you might be lucky to have three total goals in a game. The game moves fast. They haven't, to me, they haven't altered the core rules to give one side an advantage. They just have an exciting product and they're willing to do what the other guys aren't doing. You said something earlier about can the NBA learn a lesson from it? The owners wanted to stay away from the Olympics. So they're like, why do we pay you to take 2 weeks off and for you to go play harder for somebody else than you're playing from her? Here us now they realize the exposure that things like
Mhm.
this bring to their game, and 9 million people turned into it. I know it's not Super Bowl numbers because here in football's the love here in the United States, but for 9 million people on a Thursday to all watch a championship hockey game that really was just a glorified all-star game. But those guys didn't take it that way. They were out there playing for the pride of what was represented on the front of their jersey and gave you something to fall in love with, man. Hats off to the NHL and the groups who stood behind this. And next year we got the Olympics, and if we get another US Canada matchup, dog, that 9 million number gonna blow up. I'm telling you.
There's going to be some disappointed fans though, because I don't think you're allowed to fight in Olympic hockey. But I just
Oh,
got a
you're
quick
not.
question for you. I got a quick question for you. So in this Four Nations tournament, is there prize money for winning teams, or is it all pride, or both?
I'm sure that they patted some pockets a little bit, but for the majority of it, those guys just take it as pride.
Mm,
Those guys just take it as pride. It's very rare, like I said, that you get to play on a team that represents your country in the best on best. Like with the Olympics, you see the guys from France out there and the guys from these other countries, and they got ballers on their team who you never heard about because they play in international leagues within their respective countries. This was all NHL players, all going
okay.
up against each other. So, you wanted to represent from it. Homie Tay Williams said he can't do that hockey shit, man. Dude, I'm telling you, bro, it's I used to think that way when I was like a teenager until I sat down and actually really got to enjoy a game. And the way that the hockey game has evolved just with speed and letting these guys go out there and show skills, man. Some of these dudes could qualify for the and one mixtape if there was one for hockey.
Mm.
The the magicians that the with the things that they're able to do with that puck while moving at that kind of speed, man. It's ridiculous, man. Give it a shot, bro. Give it give it a shot. Sit down on the couch, pour up your favorite drink, roll you a zip, get lost in it for a couple. It's good TV, man. It's good TV. Um, Texas Power Rangers asking who are the Patriots of the NHL, and that's one theme that I kind of like too because it's broken up. You got the Bruins who traditionally have a lot of championships. You have the Montreal Canadiens who have some championships. You got the Oilers. You got teams like the New York Islanders who won four straight. We're having these conversations about three piece and do whatever to win four straight in the professional league. Kind of unprecedented, man. And the Islanders have been able to do that here moving forward. You got teams like Tampa who had a back to back a couple years ago. You got teams like the Penguins who had three in a 8 year span. Um, so it really varies. It really varies. There's no one real dominant franchise. And then one thing too is that no Canadian team is almost won it in 30 years. So that's always interesting when they get to the playoffs as well too. But if there's one thing I can tell you about hockey when the playoffs start, the majority of the series are going 7 games because that's just the way that it is, and it provides for good entertainment. If you're tired of just watching guys jack up threes in the NBA and worried about the shooting percentage, check out the NHL, dog. It's absolutely worth a glance.
Fair enough. Fair enough. There's a lot of back and forth going on in the live chat. And I think one thing, at least for me and a lot of my perspective with a lot of my friends, is you usually watch the sports that you played. And a lot of us Americans didn't play hockey. And so that's why we know little about the sport. You might not be entertained. And the thing is, too, is the sports you played, you understand the rules, you understand the schemes a lot more. But I gotta tell you, man, hockey is fun as hell. It is
Mm-hmm.
fun as hell, even though I couldn't tell you anything that's really going on. I've never been to a Kraken game, RG.
Oh
The
man,
tickets are expensive. Dude,
I'm sure.
Kraken
I'm
tickets
sure.
up here are real. They make Mariners tickets look real cheap.
Well,
the Kraken tickets too.
they gotta fund the refurbish of the arena somehow.
Yeah, for real. No question. No question. I'm not even it's not even a slam, it's just to make a comparison really. But I've been to a lot of rookie ball hockey, and it's nothing. I still need to get to the NHL at some time because the pro hockey I've seen like one or two NHL players in 40 years of living. That's kind of the odds of a
All right.
rookie ball hockey guy making it all the way to the top. But
Mm,
it's still fun and you ain't gonna believe it, bro. I actually watched a little bit of NBA this weekend.
mm, okay.
My
Tickle
love
my
came back a
fancy.
little bit.
Tickle my
Well,
fancy.
okay, here's the number one thing is I used to be a huge NBA nerd. I've told you before in the early 90s in Western Washington, it was Huskies football and Supersonics basketball. Those were easily the two most popular in Western Washington 30 years ago. I get a little tuned up after the All-Star break because the teams know that they're trying to fight for a position. Now you have that little play-in tournament to start the playoffs. So if you have the possibility of staying out, but I just wanted to say I wanted to check out the Lakers a little bit. Obviously, Luka Doncic, that's a needle mover in terms of a trade. Both of us we're kind of up in arms like why is Anthony Davis getting so much disrespect here because people thinking it's such a ripoff trade. I'm kind of seeing why though. Again, you sometimes forget when a guy's injured. Doncic might be atrocious on defense, but he's absolutely special on offense. And then of course because of my age, I like seeing the Warriors trying to take one more swing at it. And
Mm,
Lord knows Jimmy Butler has found the fountain of youth since that trade. The team looks pretty goddamn dangerous right now. The NBA sincerely needs a lift right now. And maybe I'll jump back in a little bit. It's never going to be what it once was for me personally. In the year 2025, I'm going to ask you a question. I kind of think the NBA might have peaked kind of in the Kobe Pierce era. What do you think on any of that?
I don't think that it has peaked. I just think that the way all leagues turn into copycat leagues. And when Steph Curry came out the gate and was able to extend the way that basketball is played on the court, everybody started to try to find guys who can stroke it, which is fine. But to me, it's when the analytical nerds then get in the ear of the front office and say, well, why don't we just shoot 63s a game? And, if we make 15 of them, that's X amount of points. And if we do that so often, we have this much probability, according to the wind blowing in Sandusky, Ohio. And I can't stand that kind of shit, man. But I don't think that they've peaked. We just have gotten into where the players don't care about the regular season, which to me screams that it should be shortened. But then if you shorten the regular season, you're going to shorten the amount of money that they make. And they damn sure don't want to give up any of the money that they make. So they want to hold on to 82 games as much as possible because it allows them to offer super maxes, and revenue in the NBA is at all-time high because of TV contracts. These guys want a cut of that money, but they also don't give you 82 games a night where they give a shit. You get four teams who give you 82 games a night of giving a shit. But unfortunately, that's not where the star power, those teams don't have the star power. Now, the Thunder might this year because SGA should obviously win the MVP hands down. That dude is just balling. But I just I just don't understand why they have to have that type of struggle with it. But I also believe too is because they don't have guys flashing down and doing the things that made us interested in the games when we were kids. It's just all who could stand from the parking lot and hit the farthest shot. But they are going to have to do something to change their model. I completely agree with Barkley when he told Draymond, your generation ruined this game. And I also heard a very interesting take too. Tell me what you think about this. Jordan and Dominique love the All Star game. Magic and Bird and them love the All Star game. Kobe and AI, those guys love the All Star game. LeBron doesn't give a shit about the All Star game. So
Mm.
when your top talent doesn't care to make this exhibition mean and matter to something other than just a weekend off and they can all post content for their followers, the rank and file guys are going to act like the guy at the top does. If LeBron gave a damn about the dunk contest, he could have kept it alive. He doesn't.
Mm.
Steph gave a fuck about the 3-point contest. And honestly, I thought it was entertaining watching him and Sabrina Nescu go head up. But,
Mm-hmm.
those guys don't look at the opportunity to say that our side is better than your side the way that those old guys used to. And it started falling apart.
No
But
doubt.
again, the NBA has some struggles that they are going to have to face. But then again, who says that they change it because they are very focused on that international dollar, and that international dollar
Mm.
is what's going to carry them through. I heard someone say that an international player can't be the face of the NBA, and I tell you to go look back at the last 7 NBA MVPs. Joel became an American citizen, but he's not from the United States. So all your MVPs have gone to Giannis, Joker, Embiid. None of those guys are American, even though Embiid just did get citizenship status.
And all the
So
MVP contenders this year are going to be a foreign player.
hmm, SGA is going to win it this year, and he's not American. So you can't say that a foreign player can't be the face of the league. I mean, if we're gonna split hairs like that, Tim Duncan is not an American,
Mm.
and that
Yeah.
dude's one of the best to ever do it. That dude's one of the
Well,
best to ever do it.
we
So
remember back in 1992, the world changed for basketball. The
it
Dream
sure did.
Team made the world love basketball in
Hmm.
1992, and it's never looked back since.
Yeah. And the world, in my opinion, has begun to catch up. So we're going to see some real good competition come 2028 in LA. And don't be surprised if we get smoked like we did in 2004.
Mm.
Going to ride 10 toes down. I'm proud to be an American, no matter how crazy this place can be. But in terms of where the NBA is, we might be caught up to and might get surpassed.
Yeah. I mean, the
And that,
USA just won gold, dude. We just won gold, but think about the two best players. Unequivocally, the two best players are like 40 and 36 in terms of age.
hmm?
So,
and they're
got a
going to
little work
pay.
to do.
They sure do. They sure do. And the guys who are out there running that, I mean, look at the Denver Nuggets championship squad from a couple years ago. 1 and 2 players, one's Canadian, one's Serbian.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Well, I got, were asking about the All-Star game. It lost its edge when Kobe passed away, dude.
Yeah,
And it was trending the wrong
when
direction.
Kobe
When
retired. When Kobe
when
retired.
Kobe retired.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Because Kobe will not stand for a half-ass game. That
at
just is
all.
not going to happen. And he's such an alpha. I mean, Kobe, it really is sad, dude. It's been so many years since he passed away now. But for such a young girl, all those young girls, man, trying to just play the sport they love and just seeing what it's done to basketball in general. Mariners Lifers talking about his two buddy. We talk it all the time, man. You can be friends off the court, but you got to be killers once you step onto it with each other. And the NBA, honestly, they're fine right now for the next 10 years because somehow they signed that TV deal, what, 2 3 times what their previous deal was, but all of the networks, Amazon Prime's jumped in the mix as well. They're all pissed as hell right now at the NBA because the return on the investment is pathetic right now.
It is.
And so the NBA is going to be sitting fat on the hog for the next 10 years, bro. But they got to already forecast and be like, we got to change shit, or this next contract that they sign in 10 years with all the TV networks. And then also think about how much viewership is going to change in the next 10 years and how we all watch sports and watch shows in general. The NBA has to change the shit around, or their next one is going to plummet in terms of dollar value.
Do they? It's just really going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 3 years when we lose LeBron, Curry, and Durant. and who were going to be the guys to step up to fill that void. Um, Anthony Edwards is kind of young. Jason Tatum is kind of soft mentally. Jaden Brown is kind of a crybaby. Dame is almost just as old as they are, so we're not going to get
Yep.
a whole lot of the carrying from him. My guy, I love him to death, but as much as he talks mama mentality, Devin Booker doesn't have it. Just maybe a guy like Donovan Mitchell, you know. Um, but we're also going to be talking about a lot of small guards that are going to be trying to carry that match as much as it goes on.
Mm.
Real interesting, man. Just interesting to see how it is that they're going to be able to transition and keep an American at the forefront of it. But I honestly don't think it matters if the game goes back to exciting. We get a bunch of guys who, like was said in the chat, can get over this buddy AAU mentality and just, hey man, when October to April, we can't be friends, dog. I'm coming for that number one spot. We need a bunch of guys out here acting like Kendrick when he put out Control. I respect you, but I'm coming for all of you because I want to be the guy that's number one. I want to be the guy that's number one. And if you watch even how that response went, the old guys were like, "You ain't gonna talk to me like that." The young dudes, "Oh, that verse was crazy, man. That verse was crazy." But I'm just gonna stick to mumble rap.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Just the difference of where we're at now. Someone asked, "When is the next Olympics?" As far as basketball goes, we're talking 2028 in the City of Angels out in LA. So depending on where you live geographically, you might get some of those games in some of your areas because they do happen to spread out where sports are played at across the country. Who would be our starting five, dude? And like I was just saying, that is going to be very hard to go and have that conversation with. I don't know if we have five guys outside the old guard who are even worthy of it. And we'll definitely see of it. I don't think LeBron will be around for that. That's going to be asking too much of a 40. Well, he would be 43. No, 40, 43 at the time the next Olympics run around, and I think that's a little asking a little bit too much from him. I know Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi played on the Olympic team in their 40s. Um, and I don't want to disrespect them, but to get what you're going to expect out of LeBron at that to try to carry an international competition, I just don't think that's going to work out. So the ring is there to be grabbed, is what we're saying. It's definitely time for the new breed to step up, and we just have to see who's going to be the one to grab that brass ring because to me, all the top five players in the league right now are all international.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Interesting. Interesting. So in the recent World Series, we saw a major spike in ratings with the LA Dodgers and the New York Yankees. You look at the NBA right now, and a majority of the best teams are either small market to mid market. Do you think that has any effect on viewership?
It's a win if you're David Stern because he wanted to see the league have that kind of parity where small market teams can rise up and compete and make some of those players household names. If you're Adam Silver, it's a nightmare because as much as someone who loves the sport would love to see an OKC Cleveland championship, not a single viewer in the top 10 market is going to give a fuck about that.
Mm-hmm.
But it might be the best series as far as athletic competition we can get. But as far as are you speeding home from work to go get a pizza, go get a 12 pack, go
Mm-hmm.
pick up a fifth, go pick up an eighth, roll something up, and then come home and watch 7 games of that? Nah. That's what they call a built for NBA TV series.
Ish.
Yeah. But it would be, yeah, but it would be the best competition you would get out of the teams at the top right now.
Mm-hmm.
a complete nightmare scenario for them going into year one of what's going to be the Amazon of the NBC contracts for.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, I definitely would love to be a fly on the wall during some of those strategic conference calls that they have to talk about the state of where we're at. But honestly, they don't have anyone to blame but themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
All right, I got
everybody
another
think this is
question.
cool.
I got another question for you then, dude. We know that the NBA league offices at the very top have had a ton of meetings about exactly what you're talking about and the direction where this league is going. What percentage chance do you think the league forced the Mavericks to trade Luca to the Lakers to help the popularity of this league?
You know, I'm a conspiracy theorist, so I absolutely think that this was worked out not just with Rob Palinka and Nico Harrison. I absolutely think that there were other forces at power that made this thing come to play. The same way they got involved to not let the Lakers get Chris Paul. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you guys remember that from a couple years ago. Um, and then, like I said, what this does now is give you one of these top five international players who are going to be the future of this league, and arguably what could be market number one or number two, just depending on what side of the fence you live on and where you live at between LA and New York. It gives that big time to it. If you're a fan of that team, LAX is one of the busiest international airports in the entire world. Flights are going to be coming in for guys to get off that plane to come see Luka play home games. Ticket sales for the Lakers are about to go ape shit. His jersey sales have already gone ape shit. If you want to sit there and have me believe for 1 minute that that's not a ploy to try to get their hand in the market the way that it's showing it is flowing, to me, to me, you've never sold a drug a day before in your life, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. But you can just tell, man. You could absolutely tell. We need something to be able to boost this. So why not get one of the top five and biggest media market one or two?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't be surprised to see Giannis make a move. I know the dude loves Milwaukee and loves where he's at there. Don't be surprised to see Giannis make a move. The one that's
I'm
really
honestly
going to
surprised he's
piss,
been there that long.
absolutely, the one that's really going to piss people off is when they get Joker out of Denver.
Mm.
But you are
Uh,
going to have to position these guys to put them in markets that can revenue and move the needle. No one gives a fuck about Joker playing in the NBA Finals if he does it for the Denver Nuggets against the Miami Heat ever again. And
Okay.
that's no knock on either city. That's just not how billionaires make money.
Yeah, and of all the sports we pay attention to, basketball is the one where an individual can uplift the situation more than anything. I mean, we saw this league on the verge of bankruptcy before Magic and Bird. We saw it go from a domestic product to an international product with Michael Jordan and company. And then we've seen where it's gone since the Dream Team, the proliferation, like you said, all of these international superstars that is really making it like the Americans need to step our games up in basketball. Because you're right, man. They've been on our ass for years now. It's been almost 25 years since we lost to Greece and ended up with the bronze medal. But I wouldn't be shocked in the next couple Olympics if someone else won the gold. It wouldn't surprise me at all. One team I want to look out for, though, but you're so correct on it not being a big market, even though we didn't talk about him yet, is I like the Spurs though. De'Aaron Fox is such an underrated basketball player. It's horrible for the league that Wembyama is out for the season, but if you like basketball at all, De'Aaron Fox and Wembyama can be must see TV. But I gotta criticize this league a little bit though, man. You have all these awesome teams and they don't push them enough. I know small market Cleveland, small market OKC, small market Memphis, Indiana, Milwaukee, etc. but the basketball fan wants to see the best players. And if we actually saw some of these teams in the small markets more often, we'd be much more impressed. And I might actually watch more because how often do they play the Lakers and LeBron's on the bench? And before Luca, you're just like, I ain't gonna watch this shit. And then just one other thing that really caught my eye this weekend on the association, bro, is that I've just watched for a couple of minutes, but the Dallas Mavericks were getting stomped out by Golden State. You see Kyrie Irving on the bench, and he has this look just kind of like, what the fuck did we trade Luca for, man? We were on the doorstep of the NBA Finals. They almost won the championship, and they trade away
True.
a top five player, maybe the best offensive weapon on the planet. So I'm not going to say it's a probability, but it's definitely a possibility that the NBA league offices were trying to push for this trade behind the scenes.
But we also got to put some of this onus on Luca too, because if Luca had LeBron's work ethic, that dude would hands down be the best player in the NBA.
Oh, okay.
All right, we definitely got to put some of this work ethic on Luca. He showed forth what do they call God, I'm trying to think of it. It's a nickname they have for uh they call him Justin. They call that dude Justin, that he does just enough at work to not get himself fired. That's basically what Luca had been doing. I can't say it's the equivalent of the Giants letting Saquon go because, or maybe I can. Maybe I can, but we are talking about two athletes just between them, just between Luca and Saquon individually, but two completely different work ethics. Knowing that
Mm.
Saquon would give you the best that he had, whether or not the Giants sucked or not, and you just not wanting to pay him because you chose to pay Daniel Jones instead of paying Saquon.
Ouch.
You that was a decision that somebody made while they were fucking awake. So, that's to me that's what the difference is. It is, but you know how it all plays out. This is February. Stay tuned to your TVs. Matter of fact, I'll even give you some food for thought here. When we wrap this thing up here in about 15 to 20 minutes, go ahead and put it on ABC. Oklahoma City's playing Minnesota tonight. So you'll get to see what kind of dog that Anthony Edwards is going to come out to be, and you'll get to see what the best team in the NBA looks like.
Ugh.
But
Oh,
stick
you're
with us
making
for
me sick.
stick for us for a little bit. Hey, dogs. Hey. I absolutely hate that Seattle doesn't have an NBA team, but you know how it is, man. You know how
Yeah.
it is. All
Oh
all the
shit.
money's a root of all
Timeout.
evil.
We need a quick timeout here, bro. We're talking about the Luca Anthony Davis trade like it's horrible. That ain't shit though. The Paul George for SGA and 31st round picks. Now that is the worst trade in recent memory.
Sure is. Sure is. Sure is. Gave arguably one of the top five general managers in basketball enough firepower to go out and get the
Mhm.
talent he needed to make his team relevant. And now you're taking a look at that. You know,
Yeah.
and the one notion I don't like is when they get to comparing eras, right? And they always say, "Oh, this guy played with garbage collectors and trash men and plumbers." If league revenue wasn't what it was, some of these guys that are on the NBA benches making multi-million-dollar contracts and whatnot, they would absolutely be the equivalent of what a trash man and what a plumber is because they fucking suck, bro. So you take a guy like Paul George, who Indiana Paul George, psh, dude's a beast. Breaking his leg, which I think detail derailed his whole career.
Mhm.
And I don't think he's ever gotten back to that, but he's had above average performances that warranted him going somewhere and being someone, but he was never going to be a number one again. He was going to be Robin to someone's Batman. But
Mhm.
they viewed him as Batman and they gave up the world for the guy they thought would be Batman. And it, like you said, it just completely has bit them in the ass.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I mean, he was a monster on OKC too. I actually saw him in person one time driving down to Portland with my dad and brother, man. And PG-13, Paul George, man, he was a beast. But that trade is that trade, and billionaires. I don't want to get off on a tangent, but they can get out of control sometimes. And Steve Ballmer, in terms of running a basketball team, my man Steve Ballmer definitely got a little out of control on that one.
Sure did. Sure did. But he did something that that is going to benefit that franchise, how they move forward in
Mm.
in their history, and that's them not sharing a building with the Lakers.
Oh yeah.
They have to have something to call their own. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I haven't been inside, but I went by it when I was in LA for the Eagles Rams game, since it's basically across the street from where the football stadium is. That's a benefit to them. So if that's for right now the best that we can ask for a guy like Balmer, and some of his moves have just been unlucky. You
Mm.
know, to have Kawhi Leonard, who when fully engaged is easily a top 5 player. Show me where he's been fully engaged since the 2019 finals. But again, he's looked at like a Batman when he's clearly a Robin. And I give a shout out to you, Sunday Evening Media. I granted, man, a lot of those guys back in the day weren't making hundreds of thousands of dollars playing this sport. I look at what my uncle told me he made during his playing career, and he's obviously one of the best guards in NFL history. He hadn't made a dime compared to what a guy like the Pouncey, like Mike, like
Mm.
Mike Pouncey has made over the course of his lifetime. But to say that, he wasn't good because he didn't make a multi-million-dollar contract when the league wasn't giving out money like that is just complete disrespect.
Hmm.
And then, like Jerry West said, if with all this new technology and new things that can help you be a better player, how is it that the guy who calls people plumber, JJ Redick, only averaged 13 points his entire career? Yes, sir. Start a push. Start a push. I need everybody to start a push and tell somebody, go read up on the story. I need hashtag Hall of Fame John Wooten to become trending to make sure that guy can get his flowers while he's still alive. Because as much as I'm going to enjoy going when they eventually let him in as a contributor to the game, I want it to happen while he can still breathe. So do some research on my uncle, man. John Wooten, NFL, Cleveland Browns. Read his story, read what he's done. Let's get that trending, man. I need that guy in the Hall of Fame before he passes. He's 84 years old. He doesn't have a lot of time left. He makes the contributors list every year, but really it's because he stood up for himself back then that he still gets a lot of backlash for, regardless of
Mm.
what good that he's done. And that's just, it's sad to see, man. He deserves to be in. He deserves to be in.
Well, dude, we with social media nowadays, man, we're gonna go on a campaign. Hashtag Wooten Hall of Fame. And I want to tell you something that actually sucks about that RG2 is I'm sure you remember ESPN reporter John Clayton,
Yes.
who did all the national hits for so long. But
Mm-hmm.
he was, although he was born in Pennsylvania, his entire professional career was in the Seattle Tacoma area. And he was the most loyal local radio host on Saturday mornings in this area. And I've always wanted our show to follow his show's path where the audience is a critical part of the show. We really encourage all of the live chat to get at it. If anyone wants to hop on the mic with us live, we would love to have you. But you could call in and he would take your conversation seriously. And that would have been our best avenue to push for Wooten in the Hall of Fame because he actually had a vote. He would actually listen to the people. He would bring that to the tables to at the Hall of Fame negotiation tables. And it just saddens me that he passed at the age he did so suddenly, a man of the people. And we can do our best, but it just breaks my heart a little bit because that was John Clayton was such a man of the people. He's the only person I know that for regular people out there, he would connect with and make a push for.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Small grassroots is how we get started, man. Small grassroots is how we get started. And I, for one, am grateful for all of you that tune in with us each and every Sunday night. Follow us on the platforms that we do. You know, a small voice can make a change, man. Small voice can make a change. And I think that there's nothing more uniting in our country than an open, friendly banter about sports. So let's just keep rolling and having fun with it, man, for sure. For sure. Hey, man, I'm happy to have you, y'all. Happy to have all of you.
Yeah, the appreciation is not lost at all, man. And dude, this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna do a choreographed TikTok dance. No, I ain't gonna do that shit. But we're definitely. Oh, RG is about to jump through the computer screen at me. But there's avenues to get the word out there, and we're just gonna have to do it, man. Because the way it is right now, you gotta do it yourself, and I guess there's no other way. But just thanks to everybody, man. And golly, I still can't believe it, man. Mr. Cloud9 over here, Super Bowl champion.
Man, I'm still having fun with it, man. I'm still having fun with it, bro. Gonna have fun with it until we are no longer in the tournament. And I honestly think that we got a good squad coming back. We'll see if our new offensive coordinator doesn't make the mistake that the last guy they promoted from within house did, who can come in and thinks he could just change the way that things are done. We got something good, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it, man. Let's just get back to it and have a little bit of fun. Now, we are a Mariners podcast. That's how we got our start. Spring training did happen to kick off this week. I will tell you that as a Mariner fan, I personally don't give a fuck about spring training because I'm to the point where this team where nothing that they do matters to me until they get back into the playoffs again. It's still a little bit too early to even say who's shining and whatnot. We had a we had a competitive game today against the Angels, where both teams came out, hit the ball, scored some runs. But yeah, man, I just personally don't think that the addition of Donovan Solano in the lineup is enough to get us over the hump, even if Houston has lost two of their great bats into it as well too. And basically, up until somebody changes my mind with performances on the field when it kicks off in about 6 weeks, it's the Dodgers Invitational. So tell me why I should one give a fuck about Mariners spring training and why I should think anybody not wearing Dodger blue has a chance to get this done this year.
Well, spring training's about excitement, bro. It's all about the excitement because they're even Pete Rose, Willie Mays, and Johnny Bench, Roy Campanella. They couldn't come out here and tell us exactly what's going on, man. Last spring training, Jorge Polanco was looking like the second coming of Ichiro with how many base hits he had, and we saw how that season went. Mitch Garver goes 2 for 2 on Sunday. We know that he is aging and probably the best years are behind him. But I just want to put this in perspective. And although, of course, the Mariners didn't make the World Series, the Dodgers are projected anywhere from like 103, 104, 105 wins. 116 wins in a baseball season. The Dodgers are clearly a juggernaut on paper, and they're projected for 103 to 105. That is unbelievable to stack up 116 wins. But you know what? I don't give a damn about your Dodgers, man. It's time for some good old piss and vinegar baseball. Move the runners over. Freaking get the fundamentals down. And you know what? Someone's going to beat him this year.
That's a long stretch, homie. That's a long stretch, homie. But I stand 10 toes down with the Mariners, man. I want to see us be able to come out and silence the doubters, me being doubter number one. Because I do not think that we did anything significant to make us better. And us just relying on Houston to be not as good is a shitty approach to try to take the ring from somebody. But
Mm.
it is just the beginning of spring training. We don't know who's done what right now. So, we still got a long way to go. Um, Baxter asks, when is part of the when is the part of spring training where you guys trade my Orioles a pitcher? Um, if Luis Castillo doesn't renege on his no trade clause, I don't think we trade anybody. At least not right now. Now we'll see where we're at going into the All Star break and if we're in fire sale mode or trying to actually make a deal to get someone. But the obvious thing is I still think we need an impact bat. And since we have limited revenue options, I think the only way we do that is to break up the starting pitching bat. And
Mhm.
unlike last year going into this, how many Cy Young winners do the Dodgers have coming out? How many guys from the World Baseball Classic that Japan just won with their starting pitchers are going to be in rotation for it? The Dodgers have more starting pitchers than they know what to fucking do with. And don't forget, sometime later on this year, we're gonna see some guy named Shohei Otani take the fucking mound as well too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's just fucking gross out there for it. So if they come to your city and it's come to somewhere where you live and you get a chance to go see it, by God, put down the money to go see a ticket and hope to God everybody's healthy. Because this is going to be once in a lifetime thing where a team this good that's not the Yankees is coming through to your town. Um, I love the Mariners pitching staff still. I still think that they're the bread and butter of what we are. A full season with Randy Arozarena might make a little bit of a difference. I wish we could have made a deal to keep Edgar in a hands-on role instead of an overseeing role, but just having him part of the mix could pay some dividends for us. But we just got to come out and perform. And I don't want to hear this shit about T-Mobile so hard to hit in. All those smart engineers that live up in Seattle, and if that was the case, no one's made any alterations to the fucking field. They made City, they made City Field smaller to be able to hit in. They fucking made the park in Detroit smaller to be able to hit in. What the fuck is it that a city full of smart billionaires can't figure out how to make that thing better for offensive baseball? But then you get a team like Cleveland who comes in and puts up 7 runs a game consistently and has no problem hitting the ball in fucking T-Mobile that we can't. So
Line drives.
I I don't know, man. I don't know,
There's a
man.
power outage, man. For a lot of the year, dude. I was at the driving range this morning. I was at the driving range last Saturday or Sunday morning. Balls don't fly here no matter what you're hitting for most of the year. So you have to adapt. And hopefully the Mariners are able to adapt because what you're referring to is we come back to this Indian series about, I think it was series number 2, 2024. The Mariners, I believe, get swept. The last game of the series was 7 or 8 to nothing, and the Indians had zero. I repeat, 8 runs on 0 home runs in T-Mobile Ballpark, 8 to nothing. You have to have line drives, and hopefully Edgar Martinez and Kevin Seitzer can get the job done. But we all know what time it is. Ballpark dimensions, altering your ballpark is expensive. And Lord knows our ownership group doesn't like jumping in when it is expensive and they're not going to see an immediate return on investment.
True. What did Dustin Pedroia call it? The laser show. I need to see a laser show
Yeah.
from the Mariners offense this year, especially at home games at T-Mobile Park. Uh, I often like to quote Scott Rowland where he says a home run is a double gone wrong, and
mm.
just would sorry, a home run is a double gone wrong. That's the quote how he says it, and I just want to see guys stay even and take just square the ball up more. You don't need to square it up with launch angle. Just square the ball up more. Hit it hard. Hit it hard. Hit it hard. Put pressure on the defense to make fucking plays. Hit it hard. Hit it hard. Hit it hard. Home runs are going to come. These guys are naturally strong. They're professional athletes. They do a lot of weightlifting. Pitchers still make mistake pitches. Home runs are going to come. But going up there and telling me that the best way to have an offensive strategy in baseball is to get 2 guys on who obviously didn't hit home runs to get on base and then hope that the third guy comes up and hits the ball 450 feet. You got to be fucking crazy. It just
That's not a
seems like a lot
strategy.
of that's not a strategy. That's not a
No.
strategy. That sounds like someone who never fucking played baseball came up with this grand idea on how to be able to score runs. Hit the fucking ball squared up. Squared up. I'd rather take a 120-mile-an-hour line drive that splits the fucking gap than sitting here and hoping that Julio can hit one from T-Mobile to Lumen.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to need some good production from that guy as well too. The rent is definitely due with Julio Rodriguez this year.
Mm-hmm. Because it's not like he's been bad. In fact, he's been the opposite. He's been a good player, but he needs to be a great player. That simple.
Well, that's what we paid him for. We fucking paid him too soon to fucking be a great player. I mean, we need that dude to live up to the expectation and also to beat the allegations.
Oh,
If you want to see some bats flying, watch the Orioles. Dude, Baltimore got a thing going, and I know that they lost Santander, but Baltimore got a thing going, man. All the love is going to get put on the Yankees, and rightfully so because they went to the World Series. But Baltimore is going to be coming, man. They're going to keep the pressure on them this year. They are definitely one of the young, exciting teams to follow in baseball, and it's just I'm just not ready to let baseball ruin my high right now, especially since the Capitals are still playing well, and I might have some other rooting interest before we get to the marathon that baseball is. But I just want to see my team compete. I want to see my team compete not only on the field but from a front office standpoint as well too. And I'm just not getting that in Seattle, so we definitely are going to have to hope that the talent on the field makes strides, even though the ownership group may not have wanted to invest in the best product that's out there.
well, they take the word investment in team building very seriously. We know
True,
that.
true. I'm also gonna be a little bit disappointed. I know that Goldie happens to be everybody's guy. I'm just not into Goldie. To me, all he does is yell. No, there's nothing exciting about his personality. There's nothing exciting about the way he calls the game. I bet what 32 teams, two announcers. That's 64. I bet you there's 50 Goldies calling baseball games somewhere across the country. And I'm just not interested in having another cookie cutter guy. So I'm definitely going to have to buy the package where I can hear Riz more than I can hear Goldie. Um, and if you think Dave Sims sucks, and I understand that personally he's an asshole outside of his job and his real life, but that guy also now is in media market number one. And you don't end up in media market number one if you're not good at your fucking job.
hmm And frankly, he beat the odds too with a black man in that profession. Let's be real.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, I give a shout out. I have no problem with Dave Sims. I honestly just I've never gotten too down on commentators because if I don't like them, I'll just be talking anyways. So that's not really been a huge issue for me necessarily. And hell, with baseball, sometimes I'll turn the volume down and listen to music watching baseball anyways.
True,
But I'm pumped for the season. There's no question about it.
true. The only time that the commentating really matters in baseball is if you're listening to it where you can't watch the game.
Yeah.
And to live and die with who's calling and commentating the game, I think Mariner fans are just fucking crazy with the hatred of Dave Sims. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Anything else we need to touch on real quick?
No, man. Just you keep living your high, fly Eagles fly, and I am jacked for baseball around the corner. And you know what? We're not that far from that wonderful time of year where I go for zero college basketball to 100. We're not that far from the March Madness tournament.
2 weeks. 2 weeks from when conference tournament starts, and to me, that's where the real action begins. And to see
Yeah.
who can make a miracle run like UConn did, where they had to win the conference tournament to get in, and they go out and pull five straight. Guy like Jerry McNamara carry Syracuse to it. My Lobos are doing all right. The conference didn't have as many high profile games outside of conference as we did this year, so the numbers aren't reflecting how they were in the past. We might be a 2 to 3 bid league. Lobos right now are still holding the number one spot, and hopefully, with a nice good run in our conference tournament, we can solidify that spot and go on ahead and get in. Yeah, but there's nothing real to me more exciting being a sports fan than when college conference tournament week kicks off because you got basketball on at 10 o'clock and you got a reason not paying
Yeah.
attention to what your boss is talking about.
Tyson, I'm the last person you want to help anyone on a bracket. If this was 1998, maybe 2008, I could probably do some work, man. But I could probably name 5 college basketball players right now. But that's what makes these tournaments so special. And you're right, man. I love conference tournament season also, man. You see some like the Sun Belts and the MAC and conferences, Southern Missouri Valley. I mean, if you can think it up, they probably have that conference tournament. And I just love the passion though, because a lot of these, it's the only way a lot of these teams can get into the big dance, and
True.
it's the one and done. It's the same reason we love the NFL playoffs, man. A one and done playoff scenario gives an intensity you just can't find anywhere else.
Who's a good bet to win it all? You know, this is the one year where there's not a clear cut team who can do it. UConn has had the power over the last 2 years. They're not the same. Even a team like Kansas, who's a traditional powerhouse, might even not be ranked in the top 25 by the time we get to conference tournament play, starting on the Monday after next. Um, the SEC and the Big 12 have the most teams ranked. The SEC has a chance to get almost 13 teams into the tournament. Auburn is of a football team disguised as a basketball team with as physical as they like to play the game. So just make multiple brackets and just fire it. It's really throwing darts at the board and just hoping that something sticks right now this year. As much as NIL has affected college football, college basketball is almost the same team theme because with transfers, the NIL, the portal, you don't really know who's where anymore. A team that had this player this year isn't there this year. It's just a lot that goes on to it, man. I would say just throw a bunch of darts at the board. If you're going to enter some pools, enter some low pools where you can try to get multiple brackets in for about $5 a piece and just have some fun with it.
hmm hmm This is crazy though, man. Talk about times of changing. What it looks like 5 of the top 7 teams are from the SEC in college hoops.
Yes, sir.
That's
And
wild,
it
man.
did not you. I'm telling you, man. I it didn't used to be that way. It did not used to be
No,
that way at all.
no,
At
man.
all.
The West Coast used to be good at hoops, and I don't see a single school from the West Coast except for Arizona, but they're not really West Coast. They're just kind of out west.
Nah, we represent the West. Nah, we represent the West. If you
Okay.
listen to if you listen to God, what's his name? I want to say Cameron on his podcast when he was talking about the whole Kendrick Lamar thing. He was talking about when you come out west. The West Coast really starts here in New Mexico because that's what
Okay.
we rep is the West. You got Nevada that's reps the West. You got Arizona that reps the West. That lifestyle kind of just all concludes out here with it, with the exception of like Colorado and Utah because they got that mountain shit going on up there. So, we definitely got it. My cousin bet 500 on Tennessee, and my son bet 100 on Houston. I'm not mad at either of those. Tennessee had a great road win at Texas A&M. Um, now, if you want to ask me, Texas A&M may be the team to fade because they do not play well in the last 5 minutes of the game at all. And the thing with Houston used to be that they didn't really get tested because they play the American, but now they play in the Big 12. So Houston could definitely be one that looks at. I tell you what, my strategy is just to have a little bit of fun with it. And since we are talking degenerate shit, just keep in mind to play responsibly. Don't bet more than you can afford to lose. Whatever disclaimer Andy could put on this, because we are talking gambling, he may have to do it. But I take 5 and put it on every underdog up and down the board. And
Hmm.
sometimes there were it worked well during the first 2 weekends the last 2 years, and then think about that a couple years ago. I got Fairleigh Dickinson upsetting Purdue. Uh, I got Saint the Peacock St. Peter's. They were some crazy on that. So that's what I do. Is the first 2 weeks is just run 5 on underdogs throughout up and down the whole tournament and kind of see how that runs out with. But again, whatever you're going to play with, just play responsibly. Don't bet more than you have to lose, man.
Amen, brother. Amen. 12 versus fives. 12s win a
Yes.
lot over number fives. I
Yeah,
have no
12 versus.
scientific reason, but it's real. That shit's
It
real.
absolutely is. Absolutely is. And you got a lot of fours and 13s as well, too.
Mm. Quick question, dude. Am am I daydreaming, or is Rick Pitino really the coach of St. John's?
Yes, he is. He really
He
is the
is,
coach of St. John's.
and they're the
Yeah.
10th team.
Yeah.
What?
They're
That
playing
slimy
really well.
motherfucker can coach. Say
He
what
sure
you
can.
will, that dude can coach.
He sure can. I wish I had him instead of his son. But he did. But he did open up the doors for the Lobos to come play in Madison Square Garden
Uh,
this year. So more power to him. I tell people all the time, I'll take Rick Pitino as a coach. I'll take my national championship banner, and I'll take the 5 years of probation that comes 3 years after it.
Hell yeah. I would take that too, man. I would take that too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, man. Just you get some lively ones, man. You get some lively ones, and there's always going to be a higher team that's overrated. Um, Unfortunately, it happened to my Lobos last year. We had a higher rating than Clemson, and Clemson beat the brakes off of us opening
Mhm.
round. So, again, if your pockets are deep, play a little bit better than it. But a fun way to have fun, especially during the first and second rounds, on it is to take $5 on every underdog up and down the board.
Mhm. I might
Don't
have to take a
parlay.
drive up the highway. Drive up
Don't
the highway to
parlay.
the tribal casino, baby.
Yeah, don't parlay it. Just play it straight. Just go in there and
Yeah.
everybody who's the underdog Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, take
That's cash considerations from our man RG.
them. Cash considerations, baby.
Man, we've been
Yes,
all over
sir.
the map today, bro.
Sure have, man. Touched on a little bit of everything, and that's what we try to bring to you. No bias. We want to tell you like it is. We are a Mariners podcast. There's times I love the Mariners. There's times I can't stand them. But yeah, man, just try to have fun and be as even and transparent with the program as we can. And we're thankful for all of you that follow us and have been a part, rocking with us for almost one full year now. Almost one full year.
Hell yeah, man.
Yes, sir. Anything else you got for the people?
Nah, man, just thank you to the live chat and thank you to you, big dog.
Hey, man, happy to be here when I can. Um, we'll be back here next week. I'm off next Sunday. I know that for sure as well, too. And let's go on ahead and run some credits then. This has been My Oh My, it's another sports podcast brought to you by the good folks of Aiden Podcast Services, who make it sound like $1,000,000 each and every week. Big shout out to our super producer Indy coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee. Make sure you check out his music page, Death to Indy, at YouTube. We want to give a big love you to our social media director, Katie Matsumoto, who keeps you up to date with content. Don't forget you can follow us on YouTube. You can follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, wherever you like to get your information to come from. If you can't follow us live here on Sunday, this recording does come out every Tuesday morning, wherever you like to get your favorite podcast from. I prefer Apple. Be sure to go and give us a download, a like, a listen. As always, to all of you that follow with us, the opportunity is there. We would love to have some of you come and be a part of the show. I know we're going to have some Eric Neal coming up as we get closer to baseball. So my man Jerry B6 and anyone else that wants to come be a part of the broadcast. We are always more and happy to have you. Man, that's your man, Ty Talks 24, coming to you from Little Lake Stevens, man, Indy, Nashville, Tennessee. I'm that dude, RG, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Cinco Cero Cinco. Thank you for joining us each and every Sunday for another live broadcast of My Oh My. It's another sports podcast.